Why does your bouncer have a PhD? Hey guys, I'm Vish,
And I'm Yao.
and this is Alice the massage chair. You might hear a couple words from her later, but yeah, welcome to Not Just a Mental Health Podcast. This is our first episode, so yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
So how this works is I'm gonna be asking Yao a bunch of questions, some related to mental health, some not related to mental health. It's a very descriptive title.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah,
it's mental health, but not just mental health.
yeah, a bit more maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just another mental health podcast. So
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
All right. Uh, yeah, we'll just let Yao get a sip in, and then we'll start with the question.
Yeah. Fly away.
So how it's gonna work is I'm gonna ask him like a bunch of easy questions first. Get the hard drive running, etc. So yeah, I'm gonna start off with easy questions. Then it's gonna be a little harder, mental health wise, and then yeah, finish with some fun ones, I guess.
Mental health.
Mental health.
Mental
So
health.
first question is, what are your favorite hobbies to relax and unwind?
Yeah. So my favorite hobby, um, to relax and unwind. I don't really do it anymore, but one thing I did do that I found really that was great for relaxing and unwinding was I would watch Bob Ross painting videos. Like I would just put it on and then for like, however long those videos are, I think like 30, 40 minutes. Like I just watch it without thinking about anything else. And then you just feel like, painting happy little trees, there are no mistakes, just happy little accidents.
Uh,
And I just feel very relaxed and at peace.
I'm here.
Thanks.
Thanks, Alice. Um, so
Go on.
So, yeah, so that's probably one hobby. Um, Another hobby I'm doing right now is like, I do like, so last year in November, I started going to gym, and
Yeah.
then, actually last year now.
Yeah, yeah, a couple of
So,
years ago now.
so,
He's a veteran.
so, um, yeah, so I started going to gym, and then like exercise really helps me unwind. So no matter what sort of assignments I have or what I have on my mind, like when I exercise and I like, just focus on like moving the weight or just focus on running or something like that, it really takes the edge off. And then after after you go through all that like physical pain, the kind of relief you feel afterwards and the high you get after exercising just like washes all your worries away, it's very nice. So, and on that note, like I started a couple months after I started going to gym, I started like training in MMA, so mixed martial arts, like fighting as well. And it's kind of the same thing. Like you have to fully concentrate and make sure you don't get hit in the face, and that sort of not thinking about anything else and fully focusing on the task at hand and having it be something so physical as well. And afterwards, like, taking a break, drinking some water, like chatting to Vish if we're going to gym together or like the other MMA guys as well. It's just, it really like relaxes me and it's a hobby I enjoy greatly.
Yeah, yeah. I'd say similar, yeah. Just a bunch of sport. When you're really immersed in something physical, there's really not much time to think about much else.
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, it really like gives you a proper disconnect from whatever is like troubling you, you know?
yeah.
Yeah,
Anything else that's non like exercise related?
non-physical.
I mean, exercise, it's like proven time and time again to really help with mental health. Um, Something that's not exercise, like the Bob Ross.
You already know what I watch. What to relax.
What do you watch?
The spearfishing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's yeah, okay. No, you're right. So in terms of like consuming content, I think sometimes you just watch like completely unrelated random videos. I mean, I'll let you talk about it.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah, so like sure, there's structured content out there on any streaming platform, right? But I find that what really relaxes me was this Australian dude that just runs around the coastlines with like a hand spear, and then he dives, he catches the fish, and he cooks it like all all in one video. It's like the greatest form of relaxation that I can have without like spending the time to go to the gym or like some organized sport thing. So yeah, that's where I find my relaxation
yeah,
at home.
I mean, it's like it's also those primitive technology videos.
Oh, I
Yeah,
found
that like Australian dude.
yeah, yeah. Like the Australian guy's legit, but I found out that the other ones are just
Yeah, the other
scams.
ones are fake. Yeah,
Yeah,
but the Australian guy's legit. So the original channel where the guy like goes around and he like makes his own like mud hut and stuff like that. It's also like really like kind of soothing to watch.
with therapeutic, right?
Yeah, so like therapeutic, and I think it speaks to something very like primal in humans. You know, it's kind of like exercise. Like there's like this, you know, beyond all your like reasoning and consciousness and stuff. There's like a little lizard brain in there,
Deep down.
deep down, that like just feels happy when you see someone like light up a fire or
Yeah, build their little mud hut.
yeah, or spear a fish and cook it and eat it. You know,
Facts.
yeah. Nah, that's also something great in terms of content wise.
Yeah.
And yeah,
No, that's a good answer. Yeah, I think a lot of people could relate to that unwinding mechanism, you know. And if you don't, I highly suggest you try it.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
yeah,
So probably we'd say like exercise is something that's
my number one.
exercise is definitely number one for me. Like nothing beats exercise for me personally. Nothing beats exercise in terms of like
Just
unwinding and
calming down.
calming down. And if something's really like heavy, exercise just really gets it off my chest. Uh, Also lack of motivation. I feel uh, like feeling kind of down in a slump, like depressed almost. Exercise really helps for me with that. Like
Yeah,
yeah, and then also watching like videos, so Bob Ross videos or like spearfishing videos. Those
yeah,
those videos are
yeah. If you want to watch
also
it,
for
the
me.
channel's called Youngbloods. It's called YBS Youngbloods, so you can go check it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, watch the podcast first, though. Then you can
Finish the podcast and then you can watch
then you watch that. Homework.
it.
Ask you about it next week. Uh, yeah.
What fish did he eat?
Imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the video like doesn't the rest of the video is like locked by a password. Like, you have to type in like the species of the fish.
And you get the link to the rest. Yeah. Crazy. Anyway, yeah. Question two. That's enough about question one. Yeah.
Yep,
This one's not like necessarily hard. It's a other warm up question.
yep.
Like, what's your favorite food or drink? Like, what is it?
Favorite food or drink? My favorite drink is sparkling water. I know a lot of people don't like sparkling water,
Tea
but I
breeze.
also know that a lot of people have something wrong with them.
Yeah.
No, no, I'm kidding. But I really do like sparkling water. I don't know what it is. I know exactly what it is. Sparkling water is like you get the you get the rush like from the like the
Carbonated.
carbon.
Yeah.
Like you get the rush and you get that like flashing sensation in your throat, but you don't get the sugary aftertaste from the soft drink, and that's just like peak for me. And I actually kind of enjoy the sort of strange kind of bitter taste with sparkling water. And the thing is, with sparkling water, I think a lot of people give it a bad rap because they try one type of sparkling water and they end up not liking it. But there's so many like flavors to sparkling water that just really, I feel like for most people, if they try a couple, they'll end up at least kind of enjoying one of them. But you know, I personally love sparkling water.
Favorite drink.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's like half the questions.
yeah. And then food, I really, really like Indonesian food.
Yeah. Look at this guy licking his lip with the
Like,
food.
like my mouth is watery thinking about like the Indonesian food.
Is that the one near the crunch? Near crunch?
Oh,
Or
that one's pretty good.
no?
Um, so, uh, but just every Indonesian restaurant I've been to, like they don't hold back on the flavor. You know, like it's like what's supposed to be sweet is sweet. What's supposed to be spicy is spicy, and like
Uh,
they always have such a great mixture of texture. So like if they like deep fry like a chicken leg, like the skin is crispy, but the meat is so like juicy and tender. And whatever flavor is supposed to be, if it's supposed to be sweet, like the sweetness is inside, like they cooked it into the meat. And if it's supposed to be spicy, it's like so like aromatic and like it's just I just love Indonesian
you have
food.
to try it basically.
You have to try it. Like I discovered it by accident once. I was like, oh, this restaurant has a lot of people sitting inside. I wonder what they're serving. I tried it once and I just couldn't like
Can go back.
I couldn't stop thinking about it.
Interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. My favorite food might surprise you. You know, there's like this Mexican place near Houston.
Oh yeah.
Like near, it's on Broadway, and I had like one of the burritos there. It was just like black bean and rice inside. Beautiful, man. I don't know how they do it. It was so simple, but it tasted so good.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
Houston is the University of Sydney.
yeah.
So we're from Sydney if you're watching from elsewhere in the world.
So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Initially, we started this as like a podcast for a club at UCIT. So yeah, that's why I yeah
Yeah.
yeah that's why I know the food spots near the university. Yeah,
Yeah. Uh cool.
yeah. Okay. Uh,
Favorite drink?
my favorite drink. Oh, I discovered it recently. Have you guys heard of what was it called? The Nine Arizona iced tea.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think that's like an easy favorite. Like I also personally hate like the thank you.
Thanks.
I personally hate like the sugary taste of soft drinks as well. Like even if you like have them close to bedtime, I just can't go to sleep without like brushing my teeth a couple of times
Yeah,
just to
yeah.
get like the
Yeah, yeah. To get rid of the sticky aftertaste, right?
yeah, right. But this one is like a good like mix. It's like it's got tea and it doesn't taste like a soft drink, but there's like a hint of sweet, you know? It's like a very watered down sweet tea basically. It's really good.
Yeah. It's got like a kind of like fruity taste, like a very strong fruity taste. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Nice. Pretty cool. That's my favorite drink, I reckon.
nice.
Yeah. All right. Number three, right? Who's your favorite famous person, like slash figure? And if you could give like a quick description of them or like an overview, you know, or and like why you like them so much.
Okay, my favorite like famous person is a really strange one, because I guess the backstory here is like I've never been someone who's being like a fan of the idea. If that's a bit convoluted way to say that. So I've never been the type of person who believes in being a fan of a celebrity. So I always thought like if you're someone who like goes crazy over like Justin Bieber or like Taylor Swift or something like that, I always thought it was a bit like uh,
Who are you
there's
doing
something
this for?
okay, there's nothing necessarily wrong with it, but it's just like you don't even know that person, you know, like it's you're more you're more infatuated with like this image you've built up of them rather than whoever that actual person is, right? Like it's more your own projection of or who they are rather than who they actually are as people, right? And at the end of the day, if you're the type of person to like really go crazy over celebrities, it's I feel like I personally just have always found that very like I don't know. Like,
You just can't relate to it.
I never really bought into the whole idea of like
Yeah, being like a
celebrities
fanboy or
being,
fan.
yeah, or being a fanboy or a fangirl. Like, because to me, it's like, I guess I'm kind of like I'm kind of like a, annoying skeptical, like annoying skeptic. And then, so whenever I see like a celebrity or something, like I always try and like see them for who they are. And I mean, like, they're not terrible people. They're just not like, they're just not like gods or goddesses and stuff like that. So I guess that's what I'm trying to say there. So I've never really been like, or, like so and so sports star or so and so singer or so and so growing up. But the one dude that I'm kind of like a fan of, it's just because he's such a strange and bizarre person. You can't make him up. His name is John Danaher. So most of you probably don't know who this guy is, but this dude, like John Danaher, he's like a jiu-jitsu coach in America. So like jiu-jitsu, for those of you who don't know, is I'm referring to Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Martial art.
So it's a type of martial art where it's ground fighting. So you grapple on the ground and you win through submissions. So you win through submissions. So um, the idea of a submission is, you grab a hold of someone's neck, or you grab a hold of one of their arms or something like that, and then you choke their neck, or you hyperextend the elbow or something like
Yeah.
that until they tap, uh, and that's when they submit to you. They acknowledge that if they wanted to, they could have like choked you unconscious or broke your arm or something like that. So it's kind of like a interesting sport, and it's all happens on the ground. So it's like, if you imagine like two, I don't know, two anacondas like fighting on the ground. Uh,
Yeah, like a boa constrictor or something.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
like basically a lot of rapping and suffocating.
yeah, a lot of rapping and stuff. Like two people on the ground rapping and trying to suffocate each other.
Yeah,
So that's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So then this dude is like a coach in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, right? But he's like such a strange character. So he's originally from New Zealand, and he's like, as a kid, he never didn't even know what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was, right? So he played like rugby and stuff, and he studied philosophy. So and then studying philosophy, he got into a PhD program of philosophy in America in Columbia University. So this dude went to like Columbia University, right? Just like, and he's like in his youth, he was like a huge dude. He was like bodybuilder, like he looked like a bodybuilder, right? So it's like this bodybuilding dude who's a philosophy like
PhD candidate.
PhD candidate slash like he was doing some teaching at the university as well, and he's and for work he worked as a bouncer because he's a huge dude, right? He worked as a bouncer in like nightclubs in New York. So, so this is already like
Like, where'd
pretty
you find
strange
this guy?
dude, right? Like where do you like? First of all, like
Why does your bouncer have a PhD?
yeah, like what is this bouncer have a PhD? And they're like so this like huge dude who plays rugby decides to study philosophy and decides to go to New York to study like America to study philosophy and works as a bouncer in his spare time, right? So one time, like I think one of his students or something, or one of his colleagues, like discovered Brazilian Jiu Jitsu and then showed it to him. So then he went to the gym in New York called like Henzo Gracie, Henzo Gracie's Academy, and then he studied there. And then he just became like infatuated with the sport. So then he just practiced it like day and night. And then he ended up like quitting his philosophy kind of like university role. And he just did this like he just became like this was over years, of course, and then he just
This weapon.
yeah, he just became like this weapon, like in like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, right? And then because he by the time he started,
Thanks, Alex.
by the time he started, he was already like 28 years old or something like that, or like 30 or something like that. And then he got super good himself. So he ended up training from the ground up a couple of students, and like one particular student, Gordon Ryan, became like the world champion, and then all his other students like became like top 10 like jiu-jitsu like practitioners of all time. And then so he's like this insane coach, right? And he also coached like George St. Pierre, who's like this like one of the greatest all time like mixed
Yeah,
martial arts fighters. And then but the really like the really for me what like really
icing on the cake.
for me what really does it like
The
for me what really kind of like makes me kind of like find this guy like interesting is if you go listen to his podcast, like if you search like John Danaher podcast and you listen to him talk, like the way this guy talks is just like so it's just so like bizarre and out of this world. And it's just but weirdly enough it's something that I can really relate to. So it's just this strange dude that um I guess I'm a fan of, I guess, because well, I'm a fan of him for several reasons, right? Like part of it is also like his dedication to his craft. Like this guy literally doesn't have, he, like he was talking about how he was contemplating whether he should get Wi-Fi in his apartment. Like this guy doesn't have Wi-Fi in his apartment, and like he was thinking about whether he should get it because all he does 24/7, like he coaches jujitsu like 10 hours a day, and he spends like, the rest 3 or 4 hours watching fight videos, like studying tape of fighting, and then the rest of the time he sleeps. And then that's a really kind of bizarre thing about this guy. It's like when whenever one of his students becomes a black belt, so he gives them the black belt and he gives them a knife, and the knife is like a metaphor for how the students are like the metal, and you like polish yourself to become the blade, right? To become like a more polished and finished version of yourself. So this guy is just like so it's like a character from a book, you know, but he's real. Like you can go search him up. So it's just such a truly like bizarre and like for me like a weirdly kind of like relatable character because it's so like I don't know, it's just so like he's just so himself. Like he's not like he wears like a fanny pack and that's part of his whole thing. He's just like it's so functional and like he doesn't care what people think. Oh, he wears like a rash guard, so like you know like a surfing rash guard, but then you also use it for jujitsu. He wears a rash guard everywhere. Like that's just his daily attire. He's just wearing a rash guard. Like it's such a funny and bizarre person, and he's just so just that's just the way he is, you know. He's not like a celebrity or anything. He's just a jiu-jitsu coach.
like he's
Like
not doing it for anyone. Like
he's not doing it for anyone, but he's just so like he's so himself, and he's so like unapologetically himself, and he's like such a strange dude while he's doing it. Like he's like if any like obviously you know he probably has his own character flaws and all that, but he like acknowledges it, and he's like you know he's like I'm kind of a dick, you know, and that sort of thing. So he's just such like it all comes together to make him like the whole package for me. It's just like if there's any like celebrity or public figure that I'm actually like kind of a fan of, it would be him. Like he'd be the only person I'd actually be excited to meet in person. Like
yeah,
I'd actually want to like talk to him in person just because of like how like just because of how much of a character he is, I guess.
no, that's a pretty good answer. I rate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's
What about you?
my favorite. I haven't given this much thought. Like I really should have read the questions before the podcast, I guess. But But yeah, if I was to pick, I'd say right now Kimi Raikkonen,
Right.
the Formula One driver. I've like, yeah. So yeah, so if you haven't heard of Kimi, he's retired now. Very sad. I think he retired last year. Very sad to see him go, but he's like this Finnish, I think,
Yeah,
racing.
finish.
Yeah, he's like a Finnish racing driver, and I think he's like from what I've seen, he's the only person in my life that I've seen achieve like the greatest heights. I think he's three-time world champion who just does it for like the love of the sport, you know? Like this guy, he feels no pressure. Like, if you ever seen a Kimi interview, it's very clear
Yeah.
that this guy is just there to drive the car and go home, you know? Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
he's also very much along the same line of like he's just unapologetically himself.
yeah.
Like like in interviews, he just says stuff like, you know,
He,
it's just a hobby for me. Like you both driving an F1 car, it's just a hobby for me.
yeah.
And like one time it's like
Thanks to
Exodus.
this.
One time it's like he's like they couldn't find him during like this big speech, and then afterwards they found him. They're like, Kimmy, where were you? And he's just like, I was having a shit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But like the reason why I like him so much is because actually I have a lot to learn from him, you know?
yeah,
Like if you know me, you know that I take like a lot of stress in like even little things. Like all I do is like stress and I worry, right? So this guy's like a much needed like change from my way of thinking, you know? He's
it's
just
good
like a very
model in a sense.
yeah, yeah, he's my like role model, yeah. Like I want to be
Yeah,
more like that. And yeah, it's like listening to what he has to say and
I
think
guess in that sense, he's also an example where you can really achieve, you can really be at the top without needing like stress and worry to drive you.
yeah, exactly.
He's not the best because he's stressed and worried. Like,
He's the best because he like wants to
yeah,
he wants to see the fastest lap or
yeah,
he wants to like yeah.
yeah.
It doesn't come from like a pressure. You know, it doesn't come from pressure. It comes from like
It comes from like skill, practice, talent, like
yeah,
just
like
dedication.
positive yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, that I feel like I need a lot more of that. You
yeah.
know?
That's actually like a funny thing we were talking about before. Um, it's like whether something like a achievement is fueled by through negativity or positivity.
Yeah.
Like, and it's kind of like an interesting thing, right? Because like some people they're fueled by like stress and pressure from their parents, or you know, or like
Just from
anxiety
themselves as well.
feeling
Yeah.
or feeling inadequate or something like that. And it's just and I guess it works. Like it does all those negative things. They do push you forward. But the people that we've talked about in our lives, that
Consistently are achieving
that yeah, exactly,
very stable, like yeah.
very stable, very consistently achieved, all of them have such like a positive fuel. Like it's not coming from a place of like
Or show them or
yeah, yeah, yeah,
like yeah, oh, if I don't do this, my life is over. Like it's never like that.
yeah, yeah.
It's just
It's just like I'm here to do my job, I'll do the best that I can. That's that. You
that's
know?
it. Like you know, I tried my best. It's done. Like
Yeah.
yeah,
And I think mental health wise, that's such a healthy sort
that
of thing, right?
yeah. Like you would assume. Like of course, there's no like answer to
Yeah,
what is like the healthiest mental health, right? Like
yeah,
every person is different. But for me personally, I've seen like the least hiccups
yeah,
when people think like that. So
yeah,
yeah, that's like
yeah.
yeah.
You don't like crash. Like you don't have too much stress,
There's
or you
no
don't
big
have
like
too much anxiety.
crescendo, you know. It's
Yeah,
like just
yeah, 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 yeah.
so
And for like real consistent performance, that's what you want is the
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It must be nice.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah,
but yeah, that's my answer. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. Next question. If you were an inanimate object, right? Nah, come on, don't say anything wild. First episode,
Yeah.
we want to keep these people, you know, like, what would you be and why?
an inanimate object.
Yeah,
What sort of inanimate object would that be?
yeah. It's fine. You can take a couple of seconds to think about it.
That is such a strange question.
Yeah, make sure you tie it back for mental health. Like I've noticed past few answers, I haven't heard mental. Oh, thanks, Alice.
Thanks, Alice.
I haven't heard mental or health coming out of this man's mouth.
No, like with the okay, with the food one,
Okay,
there's not much, but with the role model one,
yeah.
it's very much like be who you are. That's kind of the message, I guess.
No, I was kidding. But
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Inanimate object.
yeah, inanimate object. So, sort of inanimate object would I be? That's a that's a strange one.
Look,
I don't know, for some reason, the first thing that came to my mind is just like a rock. But that's kind of like I think the reason I think that is because in
thanks,
thanks,
Alice.
Alice. I think it's just in stories, um, you would always have characters that um, come out of rocks, or like um, rocks turn into like characters. Like I'm talking like old fiction, like in mythology, and in like those older stories. Um, not so much in modern stories. So I guess that's the first thing I thought of.
Yeah, yeah, I'll take that answer. I mean, there's really not much to it. It was just like
Yeah,
a
it's a
yeah,
fun little aside. Yeah,
yeah, just like a quick warm up.
yeah,
Now here's like the mid range questions. You know, these ones are gonna be a little bit lengthier response, maybe a little bit harder to share your thoughts on, right?
right.
So I hope you're ready.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So what is the one quality that you admire the most in the person that you like dislike the most? What do you reckon?
Oh my god. uh, the person I dislike the most.
Yeah, could be like a group of people as well. It could be like a
Yeah, like a type of people, right?
yeah, a type of person. But yeah, like something that you really think you could stand to benefit from if you were more like the person that you hate.
Oh, okay. I kind of see the angle here. So,
Mm,
not even people I necessarily hate, but like, okay, people I hate. Let me think. What type of people do I hate? Uh, I see, like, if I hate them, then they already have a quality which I find unbearable.
yeah.
But then if they have that quality, then it's hard for me to even imagine that they have any other redeeming qualities. So let me think.
Okay, it doesn't have to be hate. Someone that you like dislike. You know, there's something about them that you dislike, but something about them that you really like. Yeah.
Yeah. So someone I dislike, but something about them I really like.
Or like someone you admire. You'd be like, yeah, you know.
Someone I dislike.
You can like
So I think okay. The context here is like I'm someone who doesn't have a lot of strong opinions. So I don't really go around like disliking people. Like there's very few people that I actually like dislike. And for those people, I always have my reason as to why I dislike them. So it's kind of hard for me to think of someone I dislike, but then I actually have a reason to like them.
so you can like start by like talking us through maybe some traits that you dislike, and then you
Yeah.
can like pick one and be like, yeah, that person also does this thing very well.
Okay. So some things I dislike. I dislike. I dislike people that always like to uh, act like an expert. Like, so it doesn't matter what topic it is. and they always like cut in and they always like start talking as if they're like imagine a conversation with three people and you have an Olympic snowboarder and this guy. Like somehow this guy will end up talking will teach the Olympic snowboarder and me about Olympic snowboarding.
Yeah.
Like so I really like dislike those kind of people. Um other type of people I dislike. I dislike this just turned into a little hate list. I dislike people who
Look,
I dislike people I dislike the most is um so people who are in positions of power but are incompetent. So or positions of privilege or power that but are incompetent. So for example, like parents, right? Parents have so much power and responsibility over their children. So if they're having like a if they're having a terrible go of it, like of like taking care of their kids, that's something like I really hate. Same as a leader. So if you're a leader and you're like you're responsible for your team and you have all these people whose basic whether it's their career or whether it's their lives in like a military kind of situation, and you just can't do your job properly. That's probably the one thing that I hate the most.
and you're like unwilling to give it up, you know?
Yeah. So, and you pair that with an unwillingness to acknowledge your own incompetence and an
Yes.
unwillingness to give up your position or to,
Let
be more
someone more competent take.
or get someone more competent or be more humble in your position or be more like democratic or and you just insist and every time someone points out something you do is wrong, you just get really defensive about it. Um, that's the one thing I can't stand. So I guess a good quality associated with that might be sometimes it's just tough to be a leader, right? So if someone rises up to the occasion despite knowing they're not good enough for the position technically, but they know that someone has to do it and there's just no one else who's willing to do it, I really respect that.
Yeah.
So, I guess the situation like
Thanks, man.
headquarters, um, if you like I guess I don't know, like uh look like if you're on a plane, right? And the captain I don't know,
Faint
the captain faints and no one on the plane is like fully qualified
the fly.
to fly it, right? But you're the guy who's like, okay, even though I'm not qualified, someone has to step up to that position and be responsible for the outcome, no matter what happens. Like that, I can respect.
Yeah.
So that's like the flip side to that I really respect, I guess. But if you know, like a fully qualified pilot's on a plane, you just insist on flying it, and you just ignore all their advice, and you just anytime anyone
Teach them.
questions your pilot skills, like you just get really defensive about it. Or if you're the guy who's like, you know, droning on and on about, hey, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Even though you don't know anything about like flying a plane, that's like
I would rebook my flight, basically.
I would jump off myself. Like this.
Let the wheel go. It's fine.
It's
It's
all right.
fine.
Turn the engines off. Yeah, like at that point, it's just um, I find those people unbearable. Like,
Yeah.
and the thing is, it's also funny. It's a funny thing I also think about a lot. It's whether what's more, what's worse, a competent evil person or an incompetent good person.
Yeah, like I know my answer to this one.
What is it?
I told you that the incompetent good person is always like
Somehow more annoying than
more
a competent.
destructive. Be, because the competent like evil person, I guess, you can trace their like steps. You know what I mean? Like there's like a logical progression, and like you can antagonize them, you know? Like there's
yeah,
like a it's like, oh, why did it go wrong? This person like
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah, yeah,
actively
yeah, yeah,
trying.
yeah,
It's like an opposition,
yeah,
but with like an incompetent like person that means good, right? There's no real outlet. Like you can't really, yeah,
yeah, yeah. It's like there's always gonna
it's a trap.
like when it comes down to it, like you, especially in history, right? You always have these like incompetent good people that people love to sing praise about, but in reality, they probably did more damage than harm.
Yeah,
And it's like when you get down into it, it's like it's hard to it's hard to learn from it's hard to learn the mistake that incompetent good people make. But it's kind of almost easier to identify this guy was just straight up like
evil.
evil and
Yeah,
he was very good at it. Yeah.
yeah.
So
I guess it's like it's a lot harder to trace back incompetence
yeah.
or like trace back this.
Or even identify.
Yeah, yeah, to even like diagnose that it's like
Yeah.
this good natured like idea that's causing all this damage, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So I'd much prefer like a competent evil to go up against.
I think the other reason we think that is like for most ordinary life, like whether you're rich or you're poor, okay, unless you live in like a really like, criminal like criminal infested area, most bad things are caused by incompetent good
Yeah.
rather than
In our
competent
lives at
evil.
least, yeah.
Yeah, so in most people's like ordinary like in most day-to-day lives, like of course if you're living under some kind of cartel or some kind of like, totalitarian government,
Yeah.
your life is different. But even if you live in a poor place that has ordinary day-to-day life, the damage is often caused by incompetent good rather than competent evil. And in that sense, incompetent good can be defined as evil, right? But um, like in the traditional sense of good and evil, like uh, yeah, that's like a funny kind of thing to think about.
Yeah, it's just interesting because like um uh, look, once you start like sustaining damage, right?
Yeah,
You want to get to the bottom of it.
yeah,
So I think the whatever's like causing the damage is more obscured when it's like an incompetent but
yeah,
good, you know, force that's causing it.
yeah,
Yeah. That was sort of like a redirected question, but we got there in the end, you know.
yeah. I mean, it took a bit of a windy turn, but we
We answered a bunch
yeah,
on the way, so
yeah,
yeah, that's pretty good. I'll take that though. All right, next question. W-
yeah,
What's the most like you already said you're not like a strong opinionated person, but I
yeah.
already wrote these questions down, so you're gonna have to. Thanks, Alice. You're gonna have to
Thanks, Hans.
make a strong opinion.
Yeah.
What's the most trivial thing that you have like a strong opinion on? Like what others may think it's trivial, but
Ah,
like a pet peeve.
pet peeve. I actually do have pet peeves, but it's
Yeah.
hard to think of off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Pet peeve. Uh, nails. I think nails are kind of like a pet peeve. Like it's like I don't know, like I'm gonna I'm gonna get roasted for this.
Hmm.
But when people have like long like long nails, like really long nails,
Yeah.
I know they do it for aesthetic reasons, like they think it's really pretty or whatever. But for me, like I'm kind of like a function over form person. Like to me, all I can think of is how are you gonna do chores now?
Bro.
Like, or even not even in chores. Like, say in a week, right?
Yeah.
One instance where you have to lift a box and you have these nails. Like, how are you gonna do it?
Hmm.
It's like I don't go around like snapping people's nails in half or anything like that. But I guess it is a pet peeve of mine that I find it kind of like it offends the engineer inside me.
Thanks, so.
Thanks, Alice. Yeah, it offends the engineer inside me. Like it offends the functional form. Little voice in my head going like, your fingers are suboptimal. Like
Yeah.
God didn't give you opposable thumbs so you can claw into my cardboard box. Like uh, yeah, that's definitely like a pet peeve I have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty
bit,
interesting.
bit of a shade
I
though, but
I didn't know this. Like, it's the first time I'm hearing about your hatred of long nails. It's
it's
pretty, like, I guess interesting.
it's not hatred. It's like a pet peeve,
Yeah,
And
yeah.
every time I see it, I get bothered by it.
Thanks, so.
Thanks, Alice, but not like
Yeah, it's not like you go out of your way, like you have long nails.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah,
ew, ew.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Fair enough.
yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
That's one example. I'm sure I have others. I think of them,
Yeah,
but yeah,
that's all right.
anyway.
We'll move on. Yeah, yeah. Like, that's a reasonable pet peeve, honestly. I take that.
That is a pet peeve.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's a pet peeve by every
Every sense of the word.
yeah,
Yeah.
every sense of the word. Yeah,
Alright. So, okay, this one's more of like a question that you gotta analyze a longer time frame, right?
sure.
What lesson have you had to learn? Thanks,
Thanks,
Ellis.
Alice.
What lesson have you had to learn again and again? Like,
Oh man. The first answer that comes to mind is actually a math one.
yeah.
So as a kid, for some reason, I just couldn't remember the distributive law.
Oh,
So the distributive law is like, so imagine you have one number plus another number and brackets around it multiplied by five
thanks, Ellis.
times, multiplied by five or something like that. The distributive law is like, so if you have A plus B brackets multiplied by C, that's the same as A times C plus B times C.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Ellis.
Alice. So, um, so like you distribute the multiplication to all the terms inside the addition. So, A plus B is times C is the same as A times C plus B times C. So, for some reason, as a kid, I just couldn't get it in my head. And I got like, I got, I got like scolded by my mom so many times
Yeah,
for like not being able to like remember it, even though she's told me it like 5 times, like or 10 times or something ridiculous like that.
yeah,
But life lesson that I just keep having to relearn. Yeah, I think it's just biting off more than I could chew. That's something only that that happens over and over and over again until um, only like recently actually that I've kind of really put the foot down and said, okay, you gotta stop doing that. So what I mean by that is like say at the start of the year, right? Every start of the year, I commit myself to more things that I can handle, right? And so whether it's the amount of subjects I'm studying at school, or the sort of social activities I go to, or music, or play an instrument, or whatever, right? Or some random hobby
clubs. Yeah,
or like club, or building a drone, or like every start of the year, I would commit myself to more than I can handle, and this it's not such necessarily such a bad thing because it allows me to try all sorts of different stuff, and it allows me to live life to the fullest, right? But what ends up actually happening is like I'd stress myself out over like not having enough time and energy to do everything properly, and I just have to inevitably like at least a couple of things out of all the things I commit to end up not going anywhere, and it's just it's not a good it's not a good habit, and it's not a good lesson, and always and in that sense, also like starting projects I don't finish. So something like it's like a tendency, right? Like I'm kind of like a open-minded, creative kind of person. So I get all these ideas. I be like, oh, that idea would be cool. And I get started on it, and then I start on it, but I'm not consistent. So
Thanks,
so
brother.
so with any idea, right? You want to so whether it's writing your own book or learning how to do cybersecurity or becoming or learning how to play squash. The key to actually doing that thing well is consistency. So like this really interesting thing I heard from Andre Kapathi, like this AI dude in a podcast was he said like the path to mastery is 10,000 hours. So no matter what you're doing, it takes 10,000 hours to become a master at that thing. So back to my original point with the project. So whether it's like writing a book or learning how to play squash or whatever, like if at the start you just think, hey, that's a great idea, I'm gonna go try that out, and you don't actually commit 10,000 hours to it, like you'll never achieve the level that you want to achieve, and that's just you know not ideal.
Yeah,
and and in some sense, if you do it and you just abandon it, I mean, of course you learned whatever you learned from doing that for a short period, right? But um, at the end of the day, if your original goal wasn't to try it out, but to uh, become great at squash, and you just abandon
dropped
it,
it.
you just drop it, like it shows like a lack of commitment and just
Perseverance,
constant
everything.
perseverance and and inability to actually achieve like success in that particular activity or project, right? So yeah, something I kind of really struggle with, and
Yeah.
personally, I guess that took a lot of uh,
Time to realize,
time to
man.
realize. Yeah, took a lot of time to realize, and also like mental commitment to fix.
Yeah.
Because right now, the projects that I've started, I've put my foot down and said, okay, no matter how brilliant my next idea is, I'm
Cool.
not gonna I'm not gonna do it until I finish what I have done, what I'm working on now.
Yeah.
So um, that's kind of like the big lesson
You have to learn again and again.
that I had to learn again and again.
No, that's fair enough. And like we've spoken about this before, and the other day you told me like the root cause of what is it? Like the key arrogant thought that makes you pick up too many things.
Yeah,
You remember that?
yeah.
Yeah.
So so we were talking before, and we were talking about like, for me the key arrogant thought that makes me do like keep picking up new projects is like it's like the idea that hey, I'm uh, I, you know uh, I'm pretty interested or I'm pretty talented, like no matter what I do, I'll do a good job at it, and it's like it's pretty like to put it into perspective, like it's actually a very arrogant kind of idea because like the like Andres Karpathy said in his podcast, like 10,000 hours, right? 10,000 hours is if you put in 3 hours of work every single day for an entire year, it would still take 10 years before you actually master something. Like before you actually can say, hey, I'm, a master at this. And that's it just goes to show how, you know, of course, because the illusion of, hey, everything I try I'm good at doesn't even come from me necessarily. Like, because that illusion exists for everything. Because in the first 20 hours, that's when you make the most improvements in anything. So, whether it's me or some other dude or, like, doesn't matter. Whatever you do, the first 20 hours you try it, as long as you actually concentrate, you'll think like based on your rate of improvement. You'll think you'll be world champion in a year, but the truth is, the progress always plateaus,
Yeah.
and it takes 10,000 hours to master whatever it is you want to master. So that's kind of the reality of the situation, I guess. So
Yeah, yeah. Like, yeah, at the time, the thing that you said was like, that thought that you sometimes have when you pick up like less than you know that you can do.
yeah,
Like, oh, I'm only taking three subjects this semester, or like, I'm only taking one degree instead of two degrees, or
yeah,
something like that. It's like it's rooted in arrogance, right?
yeah.
Like how can you think that one subject is not enough for you when you haven't put in the 10,000 hours? Like you don't
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, and that's also another thing. Now that you say that, it kind of
remind you.
reminds me of that's also another reason why I would keep picking up these new activities. It's because part of it is like, oh, look at person X or look at person Y, look at what they're doing. I gotta, pick this thing up, and so I don't like, so I don't miss out, or I can compete with them.
Yeah.
And I think missing out is a big part. I don't want to like
Thanks,
take
man.
this. So, but then with missing out, like it also is a form of arrogance, right? Because like you said, even if you just do one thing for the rest of your life, it's kind of like that jujitsu guy I talked about before, like John Danaher. Literally, this guy lives, he eats, lives, sleeps, breathes jujitsu, right? And that's how he's able to achieve greatness in it. And that's how he's able to coach world champion after world champion after world champion, which is like pretty unheard of, right? And like, how how arrogant are you to say it's like, oh,
I'll do MMA on the side,
yeah,
and I'll do this.
yeah, and I'll do that, and I'll do this.
Come on, bro, get it.
It's like, yeah, it's like, uh, I mean, of course you can do that, and if you want to live life like that, there's nothing
You're not
wrong
wrong
to
with
it.
it.
It's just realize that you'll never be truly great at any one of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, like yeah. Of course, depending on who you are, you can be great at a couple of things, but
yeah,
that you can't be the guy that's like the Olympic basketball champion that's also writing PhDs, that's also cycling. Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
you,
exactly.
you gotta pick one at some point, and that's like a key realization to have,
Yeah,
especially for me anyway. Like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
All right, that's pretty good. Like I've learned a lot while thinking about that, I guess.
yeah,
I'll take that.
yeah,
Okay, so just like those ones are pretty heavy, like pretty heavy questions.
yeah.
So we'll go for like a light one now. Like what is something that gets cooler or like more interesting the more you learn about it?
Something that gets cooler or more interesting the more I learn about.
Sure, that's anything, but what's like something that's like a prime example of that?
I think um, biology is probably the best example I can think of. So I'm not like a big biology person. I didn't do biology in school or anything like that. But I think it's just for most people, that includes me. Um, you kind of think of animals as these generic stereotypes, right? Like you have a zebra, and you have a lion, and you have an alligator, and that's kind of like your concept of like the animal kingdom. But like if you go to a zoo and you actually look at, or if you watch like a documentary and you look at the actual amount of variations in animals and how crazy some of these like adaptations are and how strange some of these animals look, uh, including plants actually, like how strange some plants behave and how like different plants look, and you watch a documentary about like all the different types of like octopuses there are or something like that. It like it really and it's something that's so far away from modern life, right? Like modern life, what do you see in a day? You see like your bed, your car, some tables, some chairs, some like trees,
Maybe a neighbor. Or
maybe a neighbor or two.
sure.
Yeah, like
Crazy.
there's nothing crazy, maybe like a squirrel or a possum or a bird or something, right? But it's like you don't even realize how crazy
Nature.
like reality actually is and nature actually is until you watch like a documentary or you go to a zoo or you go to like a rainforest with a guide or something. Because the amount of
Or you start diving.
yeah, or you go diving, like it you actually see how crazy the world actually is and how crazy the animals and stuff inside actually are. And the thing is, it's not when you see all these animals with their weird little like a fish that can breathe on a branch or something like that, or like a or like a I don't know, like a jellyfish that's like that can
Glow in the dark.
glow,
Oh,
yeah, or something like that, right? Like it's not even like smoke in the mirror. Oh, that's so cool. It's like I guess if you dive even deeper into it, the mechanisms of how they're able to do that and so on is even more like complicated and like fascinating and like unexplored. Um, yeah, I think just biology in particular is what comes to mind when you ask this question. And I'm not even like a biology person. I don't go any deeper than watching a documentary or going to the zoo or something like that. But if you but what you do is just so crazy. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
very cool.
No, that's so good. Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
There are a lot of crazy creatures out there. Like,
yeah,
I don't know about you, but like, when I was a kid, right? What always fascinated me was like the latest gadget. Like I was glued to a screen basically, because I moved to Australia in 2016. Come from this city called Bangalore in India, and it's like the Silicon Valley of India basically. So like every like 300 meters is new mall, big screen, advertising the latest flat screen TV on a flat screen TV. Like it was all
yeah,
like ridiculous, right?
yeah. Very technologically focused.
Yeah, very technologically focused. A lot of I got very excited about like VR. Like there's nothing wrong with getting excited about VR and everything,
Yeah,
but
technology.
yeah, but like living around all these buildings for the first like 3 quarters of my life,
Yeah,
I never really realized how much I missed out on in nature and all that.
yeah, yeah,
Like, sure, we went to like safaris and like wildlife trips and everything, but like I never truly like resonated with it until I got older and I actually like put myself out there, started like learning how to swim and then
yeah,
like experience all these things firsthand. And yeah, it's like it does get a lot more interesting once you like
yeah,
commit time to it and
yeah.
yeah,
And like we were
really think
saying before,
about it.
there's like a little lizard brain there that's like really happy
Yeah, yeah,
every time you go, or you look at like some weird fish, or or like see some like a big tree. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, no, that's a very good answer.
yeah,
Made me think about a bunch of stuff I found more interesting. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Next question. This one's like kind of personal.
Okay.
Thanks for
Thanks,
this.
Alex.
Like, uh, as in not like it's like a deep like personal secret that you have to reveal. It's more like it varies from person to person. So,
Right.
have you ever desired or longed for something like, but once you got it, you realized that it was overrated? Like
Oh,
something you
okay.
really wanted. Could even be like an achievement or like something you wanted to happen, but then once it happened, you're like, well, whatever. Like, sure.
Uh, I think it happens so often in my life.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Alex.
Alex. That it's getting to that I actually kind of learned to not enjoy the final outcome of things. Like it happens so much in my life where, thanks,
Thanks, Alex.
Alex, where I kind of imagine how nice it would be, to get to a certain to get like a certain physical object or get to some kind of achievement. That when it actually happens, I just don't get the high I was expecting, and I kind of end up not like I've already like that's a lesson I learned very fast. I guess is be to not be obsessed over like a particular physical object
Outcome.
or an outcome. I guess so. Um, Let me think. So because you haven't really wanted a certain thing or outcome in a while, I have to trace back a little bit. What's like the last thing that I really wanted that got but was really disappointed in? So maybe let me think. Sometimes see, like when I trace back, it's always like the motivation for buying the thing is always it's like for buying something, it's always like starting some project. And that's like not really to do with wanting the object itself, but more so like starting projects. And then that's what I said before in terms of like what's wrong with me.
Yeah, yeah,
But uh, wanting a certain outcome, I suppose if I, yeah, like I said, I can't really, it's never been something that's troubled me, so I can't even share how someone would deal with that
yeah, yeah.
or not. So just personally, I've never really been particularly affected by that, and I learned very quickly that um, you never get the high you expect
Yeah,
from anticipating something. If I could change that question a little bit, I think it's also the question more relevant to me is like when when have you been anxious about some event, and when that event happened wasn't as bad as you thought it would be.
yeah. When you can share that as well.
Yeah, so
I guess we're just changing the questions now. Crazy.
yeah, so it's the flip side of the question, and I
Thanks for
thanks,
that.
Alex. And I think it's for me it's probably more relevant because even though I'm not scared, I'm not like chasing the high. I'm scared of the low, right? So, um, I mean, a lot of the time I I'd be anxious over particular outcomes. Like say for example, uh, maybe like I'd be anxious over hmm, anxious over like I don't know, getting my English result, getting my English marks back, right? And I think yeah, I think that's a good example. So um in year 11 and 12, I was doing like really bad in English, right? And then those English marks are what eventually gets counted towards the HSC, which is like the New South Wales slash Australia version of the
Entrance
of,
exam.
of
Any uni entrance exam.
any university entrance exam.
Yeah.
So I was always very anxious about getting my English results, and then it's like, and then English is one of those things where there's no clear feedback, I guess. Like there's no clear, obvious right or wrong. It's very much you have to kind of work out, like working out what's right and what's wrong is more as much of a skill than working out how
Yeah.
to actually do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Like of course there's a right and wrong in English. It's just very easy to like classify something as right or wrong. And it's very hard to like lay out the steps to get to the right answer, basically, right? Like you can tell when something's like a good piece of writing, it's like
yeah,
engaging,
yeah,
concise. right? But you can't really tell someone how to write like that. It's difficult, like,
Yeah, it's a heavy lift,
yeah,
and it's something that's hard to teach as well. And so I feel like that's one thing where I get like overly anxious over, and then try really, really hard to try and improve my marks or something like that, or yeah, improve my marks, and then like kind of end up going and then end up getting not the mark I wanted, and then kind of stressing over. So I think, but then the funny thing is, once you kind of let go of the anxiety and you just accept the fact that you're probably gonna get a bad mark, like that's when things change. Like that's when you like instead of trying desperately to control something
thanks, man.
excellence that you don't necessarily have control over. I mean, of course, in some sense, I do have control over it, right? Like if I just wrote well, I just wrote well, and I
Yeah.
get like a good mark.
But like after the deadline, you really have no control over it, right?
Yeah,
Like it,
and also it's like after the deadline, you have no control over it, and it's like if you've already done your best and you really don't know how to do better, then in some sense you've extended, you've reached right to the boundary of the control you have, and beyond that, there's no you don't have control over it, right? So the funny thing is, once you let go of that, then it all goes away. Like it's like, and the funny thing is, if you don't let go of it, it feeds back into itself. Like it feeds back into itself because as soon as you get the results back, you're like, oh,
could have done
you know,
better.
could
Could
have
have done
done better,
this. You
could
know.
have done this, could have done that, and then it feeds into the next iteration, right? It feeds into it more, and you kind of like, it just builds in a vicious cycle. But
There,
the funny thing is, yeah,
there's a lot of weight to like subsequent things associated with it. You know, like a
yeah,
lot more weight than there should be.
yeah, exactly. But if you acknowledge that beyond a certain boundary, there is really no controlling the outcome, then you don't like, even if it's a life or death situation, the same thing applies. Even if it's like a game of chess, and if you lose the game of chess, someone shoots you in the head. Even in that situation, all you can do is play the best chess you can play, right? And if someone like if you lose, that's that. Like the you have to let go of the anxiety that comes from reaching the boundary of your own ability.
Yeah,
So it's like a little continuum where there's like easy things you can do well, and medium difficult things you can do well, and hard things you can do well. And then there's that boundary where it's literally outside of your control. And realizing that there is a decrease that there is a increasing difficulty and literally impossibility after that boundary is what will help you kind of let go the anxiety and kind of bring a more healthy mindset that is better for your performance, for your mental health, for all those things. And for me personally, it's something that's improved a lot beyond high school in university because in university, there's not really competition, so you don't really have like the same cohort of people or anything like that. So um, it's really helped me in terms of not being fixated on the result or being over anxious about getting a certain mark or anything like that. So like all my university assignments, I just do the best that I can to handle it, and it's like whatever I get is whatever I get. Um, yeah, and I think it really applies in all aspects of life, even if it's a life or death situation. Like if you really kind of let it sink in, I really like the thing I came up with just then. I actually came up with it kind of on the spot.
yeah,
But there's like the easy, it's the medium difficulty, there's the hard, it's literally impossible, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And the more you let the idea sink into you that part of it is in your control, part of it is not in your control. Do what's in your control, do the best that you can, but what's not in your control, uh, you have to just let it go. And whatever happens, happens, you know. And there's a lot of like common phrases in kind of our culture that kind of embody that idea. People like to say it, but I don't think people think about like why they say it. So like,
it's
you know,
common.
it is what it is.
Yeah,
Like people love saying it, right? And it's like a funny meme and all that, but why do people say it? Like what's the idea behind it, right? So it is what it is. The idea there is like what happened happened, you know. Like what's going to happen is going to happen. This it's out of your control, so stop worrying.
yeah, like the worry doesn't add or take away from anything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, literally all the anxiety and worrying is doing is taxing yourself mentally and decreasing your performance on what you can control and contributing nothing to the final outcome.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure a lot of people need to hear this. You know, I definitely needed to hear this because
Yeah.
I, yeah, yeah, like,
It's a it's a huge thing most people struggle with, I think, including me. Like I said, I mean, the whole example stemmed from my own experience doing English, you know,
yeah,
and uh, it's a huge thing everyone struggles with, and you know, when athletes have performance anxiety, or musicians, or you know, tests like academically in tests, um, every aspect where you have to,
something's being tested.
you know, something has to be done. Basically, every time something has to be done.
There is a chance for you to become anxious about it, how it's gonna go, etc.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and there's some action you have to perform. Uh, Distinguishing between what you can control and what you can't control is very important. And
managing the anxiety.
yeah, also it's like the whatever happens happens, right? That's also the other phrase. It's like whatever happens happens. It's like the same as it is what it is.
Yeah,
And you know, and I personally the way I've thought about it, like especially recently, is kind of like, you know, I do what I can and God does what he can, you know, like yeah, like I, I do the best I can. I do everything that I could possibly do to get the outcome that I want, and the rest is like, you know, like thank you, please. Yeah,
yeah.
but and I think something else that helps with anxiety is accepting the bad outcome you want to prevent.
Oh yeah.
So I've talked about this a lot.
Don't
Well,
ruin this.
really a shot. Uh, but something anxiety over the podcast.
Not much.
Not much.
Anxiety. All right.
Yeah, so like it's something I've also kind of talked about a lot over the past couple of months. Is like, so there's this fighter called like John Jones, and he's like, you know, basically he's like the greatest fighter of all time, right? And then he's talking about fighting this other dude called like, so this guy's called John Jones, and he's fighting Francis Ngannou. So Francis Ngannou is like this huge dude, right? He's like, you know, over 100 kilos, built like a tank, and
Six
his
for something like
yeah, he's 6 foot something, and he's like his you know, punches are like, you know, tanks, like tank turrets basically.
he's got the strongest punch in the world.
Yeah, something like that. So
Yeah.
it's got like the same power as like a Ford Focus driving at you at
Yeah.
30 kilometers per hour or something.
It's like Ford Escort going as fast as it can.
Yeah,
Yeah, like he's got the same punch power. Like he's
yeah.
just this beast basically.
He's just this beast. Like obviously the actual his actual power is like some kind of like, you know, some kind of like, you know, actual metric,
Yeah,
but strong is the point.
yeah, like he's
And, and so this so anyway, so to backtrack, this greatest of all time fighter John Jones, is talking about fighting this beast of a fighter, right? Like huge, massive punching power. And the way he talked about it was you just have to get really comfortable with the worst case scenario. What's the worst case scenario? He knocks me out cold, and you just get real comfortable with it, and you just keep imagining it, and then after that, um, there's nothing he can do. If I'm fast, I'm quick, I'm agile, I'm creative, there's nothing he can do to me. And after I listened to it, it's like it just really stuck with me. Well, one because it's such an extreme example, right? Like if you told me I had to fight Francis Ngannou, I probably just I
Change
probably,
postcode.
yeah, I change postcodes and buy a new passport, right? but but with but what this mentality kind of embodies, which I think I like so much in terms of dealing with anxiety and performance anxiety, and why it's also part of why John Jones is so ahead in the game, is because of his like, mental state and mental preparation, right? What he's basically saying is he has no anxiety over fighting this, uh, this guy who has tank turrets for hands. He has no anxiety about fighting Francis Ngannou because he's accepted the worst case scenario because he's taken so much time to accept the worst case possibility. So, um, so the idea there really is that if you kind of imagine and visualize the worst case scenario happening and you get really comfortable with it, so instead of like trying not to think about it and sheltering away and hiding and not thinking about, oh, what could possibly go wrong. Like you think about literally all the possible ways something can go wrong, and you stare and you like walk right up real close to it and you stare at the thing that could possibly go wrong in the face. And if you stare at it for long enough, the anxiety goes away. You get used to the idea. And it's such a powerful technique. It doesn't work all the time, but for me, I found that it works for a lot of things. So if you ever find that you're really anxious about failing a test or uh, you know, or not or like
Not doing the best that you believe that you're capable of, or anything
yeah,
like that.
or like stuffing up a speech in a
Yeah, like in
big
front of a
crowd
lot of
in
people.
front of a lot of people or whatever.
Just
Instead of like sheltering away and pretending like
it's not gonna
oh,
happen.
it's not gonna happen, it's not gonna happen.
And you
Yeah.
have to prepare so much.
Yeah, yeah. Or instead of like Uh, yeah, yeah. I'm just gonna nail the speech. Nothing's gonna go wrong. They're all gonna,
It's gonna be
they're all
perfect.
gonna
You're
have
gonna
me.
clap at the end.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
all.
yeah, yeah.
Hand me my degree.
Instead of pretending like nothing could possibly go wrong, and instead of leaving what could go wrong to the unknown, because that's part of where the anxiety comes from. It's like the ambiguity of the situation, right? Like something could go wrong, so you're anxious about it. Like the anxiety is really a survival instinct, right? It's kicking in to protect you from unexpected situations.
Because you haven't calculated what can go wrong, so you get more anxious
Yeah,
and more build up so you can react quicker to when it does go wrong.
yeah, yeah,
Because you haven't thought about it, like there's no
yeah,
preparation.
yeah. But so to counteract that, ironically, if you think about things that could go wrong and you get really comfortable with the idea that, okay, I'm gonna go out and do the speech and I'm gonna say something wrong and everyone's gonna laugh at me and like you visualize it and you get really comfortable with the idea and then you go out and do the speech, despite knowing that, that's like the most powerful, that's like the most powerful kind of mental state you can be in, right? It's like, even if the worst scenario happens, I'm mentally prepared for it. And if it happens, it happens. So, yeah, obviously it doesn't work for everyone. And I think it takes a lot of like gradual
Practice,
practice.
same as anything, but
Yeah, it's a mental trick that takes a lot of practice, right? Because initially you're gonna be like,
why did I
you're
think
gonna you're gonna imagine it and you're gonna be like, why did I think of this? Oh my god,
Never watching another podcast.
Never watching one. This guy is full of shit.
Turn that thing off.
Yeah, but it's not like, when I say stuff like this, I'm not telling you to just like, throw yourself in the deep end and just, start imagining every worst possible scenario and just,
Just sit in there and
just
just
sitting there. Yeah,
try to get as comfortable with it as possible. It's not gonna happen. Like
yeah. It takes a lot of practice, and it takes a it's like a certain mental state, right? It's like just as it's almost like an emotion almost. Just as you have to experience being sad to know what it's like being sad, and experience being anger to know what it's like being angry, and experience being calm and peaceful to know what it's like being calm and peaceful. The kind of mental state I'm describing is like you kind of have to experience like actually accepting the worst case scenario, or accepting not even the worst case scenario. If that's too hard, maybe just start with like a mildly bad but realistic outcome, right?
yeah,
Like so like in the speech example, like you stutter a bit. Yeah,
yeah.
that's
Or
like a
you
realistic,
sneeze or something.
like you sneeze. Yeah,
That's like out of your control, but pretty bad, right? Like you just got the
like what you think is pretty bad, but once you visualize it and you actually imagine what's going to happen, like no one actually thinks it's pretty bad, right?
yeah, like everyone understands you. You just sneeze on purpose, like
Yeah, yeah. You're not like sneezing, like sneezing to yourself dominance or anything like that.
yeah.
So, yeah, but like kind of practicing the acceptance of a bad outcome, or of the possibility of a bad outcome, like, and then start build yourself up. Obviously, like John Jones is able to do it for even the most extreme, like getting like knocked out like scenario, because he's
Yeah.
done it so many times. But the framework is there, the idea is there, and the idea is that instead of trying to run away or trying to hide
Or like deny.
yeah, or deny um, the possibility of bad things happening, the the cure to anxiety is ironically kind of like facing the fear and facing the bad outcomes and what could go wrong and so on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's pretty good. That was like a yeah. Uh, that's pretty good take on anxiety, I guess. Like I know I for one don't watch all these podcasts, so I like really appreciate you, like sharing all this. Otherwise, I'd just be there like shivering in my oh my god, the exam is tomorrow. Like yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
now
Well, I personally benefited a lot from it as well, because I have a lot of anxiety too, and I think in culture it's like people always give generic advice. It's always like before an exam, your teacher would always tell you something like, "Oh, good luck, guys. Just do your best. Don't worry about what happens."
yeah,
And like, of course, they mean well,
like at
but
the root, like yeah, it has everything right, but
yeah,
it's not really
but it doesn't sink in. Like,
deconstructed.
it's not as traceable steps that you can actually follow to reduce your anxiety. And the way I've used to reduce my anxiety has always been kind of instinctive. Like I just try and calm myself down, whatever that means, right? Like people always just like, stay calm, stay calm. It's like, how are you supposed to stay calm? It's like my heart's racing and like breathing heavy. And whenever I have to do, before I do public speaking, I always get gag reactions. So I always feel like vomiting before I have to speak in public. And it's like really bad. Like I'm like literally fucking like, like before I have to do a speech or something, and my heart's racing, like I'm like shaking, and it's all things that you know. It's like how it's like people just say, yeah, yeah, just practice, yeah, yeah, just stay calm, or yeah, just do your
Yeah,
best.
don't worry. Like
Yeah,
you'll
don't
be.
worry. It's like they're,
That's like
they're not saying anything wrong, but it doesn't help. Um, and I guess the two things we outlined today was one thing. What was the first thing? It's like
you get comfortable with the idea. Or,
yeah, so get comfortable with the bad scenario. What was the thing we were talking about before? the whole
Anxiety related. Oh yeah, the continuum.
yeah, the
Yeah,
continuum. Yeah, so letting go of things you can't control.
that's right.
Yeah, cognitively accept that, and also getting comfortable with like a possible bad outcome, right? If you if you find that you think about a bad outcome and you get freaked out by it instead of accepting it, then you probably went too far, right? So you probably, it's like swimming. You want to start at the shallow end of the pool and just, something small like,
Yeah.
like, you know, like sneezing during a speech or something like that.
Get your
Yeah.
10,000 hours in, and then you can deal with fighting John Jones. Him fighting you. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you do in your spare time?
Yeah, exactly. So those are the two things, yeah,
Yeah.
uh, of dealing with anxiety. Yeah,
Pretty good tips. I'll take those.
yeah,
Yeah. So now we got a couple like deload questions, just like
yeah,
end it up.
yeah.
Two left. You made it this far, congratulations. You have pretty good attention span, I must say. Yeah. So, what do you know isn't real, but you want it really badly to exist? Like, yeah.
Oh, isn't real, but you actually a question related to that that I've been kind of thinking about is like we always read all these like fantasy like novels and stuff like that, right? Like books where people have magic powers or even like magic in general.
Mm.
But I've always thought, but the no, not always thought, but the idea that came to me recently that I found was kind of interesting was that do you think people would actually appreciate it if magic was real? Like if magic was just a part of reality, do you think people would even appreciate it?
Like how we don't appreciate electricity, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like electricity and quantum physics and like light and sound is basically magic,
Magic.
right?
Like
But
no one knows where,
yeah, no one knows what it's for. But just because they already exist
and they'll never go away. Like
and
we
they'll
know
never go
for a
away,
fact that we like never lose them.
yeah, like we just treat them like I don't, go around every day bewildered by like, oh, electricity, like it's just part of life.
Yeah.
And so, like when people say stuff like, "Oh, I wish magic was real," or "I wish I could summon a fireball," I'm like, yeah, but if that was actually just a part of life, like how is that different to like a god in like our life? Like it's no like if magic was just real and standard, then there would be no point
Yeah.
because it would just be part of the law of physics basically, and you would perceive it as you would perceive something like an electricity or gunpowder.
Mm.
So that's kind of well, it's an aside. It's not an answer to the question,
No, but
but
it's
it's an
very
interesting
interesting.
thought. Yeah,
I never thought about it. Like,
yeah,
sure, yeah. Yeah, like whenever something new and exciting comes out, it's like a thankless discovery basically
yeah,
every
yeah.
time.
But if some dude like makes up fireball in a novel for some reason, that's cool.
Yeah,
But even though in that world, from the perspective of the character inside it,
it's just another day in the life, right?
yeah,
Like
the fireball, they see the fireball the way we see like a
turning
rocket
on.
launcher, like
Yeah,
it's like sure it's cool, but it's just whatever, there's something actual magical about it. Anyway, that's just a little interesting little because I guess the idea came from I thought, you know, wouldn't it be cool if tomorrow everyone got superpowers and I could like I don't know, like rip open into another dimension by just doing this or something. That would be so cool, and I have all these like cool graphics happening in my head. And then, but then, if I keep thinking about it, I'm like, but then would it be really cool? Like, isn't that already kind of happening? Like in some sense, like everyone has their own little like traits, right?
mm,
Some people know about swimming, some people know about soccer. Like, we don't think that's like
cool.
anything special. Like,
Yeah,
it's just if everyone has something unique about them, then that's just like part of life. And if the laws of physics are such that anyone can rip open a door gateway to another dimension, then how's that to like
Yeah,
different to a helicopter or something, you know?
like how is it different than no one being able to rip open to another dimension?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
magic in some sense is just like a like an illusion almost, but uh like also I guess that differentiates the fact that some like science fiction is like you have reality and then you have people who can do like special people who can do magic in our reality. So but then I guess then it's just more pure just like imagination rather than a consistent set of like rules or something like that.
yeah, yeah. It's just like a specific case by case, you know,
Yeah,
event by event. Yeah, this is what happened when they use magic here. There's no
yeah,
like yeah, you can't really predict anything given the information you're given in a book. Right?
yeah. So it's like a interesting kind of distinction that I've kind of recently been thinking about.
Mm.
Anyway, so something that's not real, but that would be cool if it were real.
Yeah,
I guess that kind of answers the question because it's like there's so many cool things in real life that are so thankless.
yeah, yeah. Like, does it really matter if something like
Like
that's not real becomes real? Like,
yeah, like there's so many things like that's already happening. That's so cool that nobody appreciates. Like the random fact that just came to my head was if you cut a grape in half and you put it in the microwave, it will like produce plasma. Like it will arc with like a plasma. Like like a grape and a microwave can do that. Like that's so cool, right? But
might
such
try
a
that later.
such a thankless fact, you know. Or um, but I guess I'm here. Thanks, Alice. Um,
Alice was real.
if Alice is real, Alice is real. She keeps saying I'm here.
Yeah, just
If
like
she wasn't real, would she say I'm here?
yeah. I'm,
So thankless, thankless. No, something that wasn't real, but would be pretty cool if it were real. I think maybe like a
we can like narrow down this like search space like gadgets.
gadgets. Yeah,
Yeah, like some device that would be it'd be nice if it was real, but it's not.
yeah. So obviously there's like the stereotypical ones, like a time machine,
Yeah, it's not really.
or like a healing stone or something. Like if you touch the healing stone, you get healed.
Yeah,
That'd be pretty cool. Or maybe even like yeah, yeah. Okay, I've always found the idea of being able to download knowledge fascinating. So I don't. I'm someone who hates memorizing things, right? I don't like memorizing things. I don't mind learning new skills, but I don't like just memorizing facts. And yet, for a lot of jobs and such, you have to memorize facts. So a gadget that allows you to just download knowledge would be awesome. At the same way, your computer can just download uh, all the Wikipedia page onto
yeah, it's like local storage.
yeah, like you just download like like if you if you're about to go to uh, someplace in like I don't know if you're about to go to some forest in South America, you can just download all the relevant knowledge you need. Like
What's
you
inside?
download
Yeah,
what animals are there, what plants are there, what vaccines you need to take, uh, what sort of gear you should pack, and so on. Like imagine just downloading all of that, and imagine being a doctor. You can just download all the knowledge you need to become a doctor, and all that's left is to just practice and get good at being like. a doctor. I
Yeah,
think.
there's nothing you have to like remember, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just take out the memorization. Yeah, like a exactly like a permanent like like
Formula sheet.
formula sheet that's inside your head.
That'd be kind of nice. Pretty neat.
Yeah, I think if there was like a cool thing, that would be
That would be it. It's a
that
pretty
would
good
be
choice.
it. Because it's like I hate memorization. What can I say? I don't want to memorize anything ever again in my life.
Just get real comfortable with forgetting, bro. This guy doesn't listen to his own advice. Yeah. I feel like that's what I've been doing my whole life, you know, getting comfortable with
Getting
forgetting.
comfortable with my own failure. Yeah, yeah,
A lot of practice.
yeah, yeah,
John Jones, you know? But,
yeah,
oh, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I can't control the fact that I'm a loser.
Yeah. They can be being a loser, uncontrollable. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, imagine.
yeah. No girls will talk to me. I'm controllable.
Yeah. So, we got a last question, right?
Yep,
Pretty surface level, you know, just to, like,
yep,
just to let people know more about you.
yep.
Like, what is the greatest physical pain you've ever felt?
Oh, oh, that's a great question.
I know. Thanks.
Greatest physical pain. I always get these mystery stitches in
Okay.
my stomach. So like here, like on the bottom left. Yeah, if someone watching is a doctor, please comment. Oh, what's wrong with me? But I always get these like stitches on the bottom left of my like stomach. I think it's like a gas issue. Like I get like really bloated, and that creates a really like annoying sharp pain, like needle like sharp pain that goes on for hours.
Oh man.
So literally like 2 or 3 hours of just like pain of like curling up on the bed and trying to not like, and it's not like magnitude wise. The worst pain is getting kicked in the balls. Like that's probably the worst pain. But that goes away after like a minute or two. So it's not
Really? I've never been like,
kicked in the balls.
never. I just don't upset. Chill out.
Yeah,
Mental health focus, not physical health focus. But
yeah. Look, the joy you get after the pain goes away will keep you mentally healthy. Will keep you mentally healthy for months.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, that's probably the greatest physical pain. It's happened a couple of times in my life, and it always happens if uh, I get really gassy, I guess, and that happens at random. Well, not really at random. It's probably because I ate something, but from my perspective, they happen at random because I don't know what food is causing it. Um, but interestingly, I think there is like what I was saying. If you do experience a lot of physical pain, I actually think it helps with your mental health. So obviously, I'm not telling you to go out and start like
Hurting yourself.
hurting yourself.
Starting.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Start like beating yourself.
Like,
Kicking. Well, we do
do
kick
that.
sometimes.
But yeah.
Um. So like, but the idea there is like, if you do sauna or if you do ice bath, and you really, or if you do like weight training, like really heavy weight training, you you like I'm not like the expert on this. If you want really good advice on how you can do tangible physical things to improve your mental health, the go-to guy should be Andrew Huberman. So he's got a podcast called Huberman Lab, and he talks about this stuff all the time. But the basic gist is, if you do ice bath, or if you do like sauna, or if you do like really heavy weight training, anything that stresses your central nervous system out, um, because it stresses your central nervous system out, like after you stress your nervous system out, you get it like after the recovery. Well, first of all, there's health benefits to sauna, ice bath, strength training. But after you stress your central nervous system out, you get significant improvements in terms of like reductions in anxiety, reductions in depression, and also all the health benefits that come along with it, right? Better cardiac health, uh, uh, better, uh, better fat, so better like fat reduction, so better body composition, so on and so forth. So that's another tip, I guess. So that's another tangible tip. So go listen to his podcast. But like one particular example is in a week, if you do more than 11 minutes of ice bath, so ice bath, cold shower, that sort of thing, you get a really significant measurable improvement in mental health. So reductions in anxiety, depression, so on and so forth. Uh, uh, and I know it's true because I've experienced it. Like before I did started going to gym and train in like MMA and stuff, like periodically I would get really, I don't know, like bored, I guess. It's like, what's the point of life, and that kind of like thinking and that line of thinking, right? So, kind of like depressed, kind of like bored, and kind of like unmotivated, that sort of thing. But then whenever I exercise, like that just goes away, and I just don't get that if I exercise. Like it's just there's no intrinsically, I'm just happy.
Yeah.
And after I train, the harder the training, after I train, I'm just like the most cheerful guy. I'm just like, life is good as good as it gets. I'm just like I'm just a happy little man. Sitting, sitting on the bench outside. With a big smile on my face. Yeah, today is a great day. Yeah, so
Confirm it.
yeah.
Guy walks out of the gym, he goes, "Bitch, I'm so grateful." Yeah.
Yeah, like just
Interesting behavior.
yeah, but no, really. So the same thing happens with saunas, ice bath, cold showers, that sort of
Cold
thing. So,
showers, yeah.
and for most people, cold showers are a lot more accessible than ice bath. But
That's like a very like tangible mental health improvement step that you can take, right?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
pretty fun one as well.
yeah,
Like the sounds I make, I didn't know I could make.
yeah. Inside a cold shower, right?
First time I turned the tap on, yeah.
It's like you.
If you're a neighbor, I'm sorry.
the the going into a cold shower, nothing beats the like primal fear
Yeah,
of about to step in under that cold water.
because it never gets any easier.
It never gets any easier.
You know what it feels like.
You know what it feels like, and it never gets any easier. And I think that's what.
Life is like.
No, really, I think that's what's part of what makes it so effective, right?
Yeah,
Because you don't get used to it, and every time you do it, it's like it's like taking a stand against life. It's like despite something being hard, despite knowing you're going to be in pain, and despite knowing you're going to suffer, you still do it you still do it because like you're
it's
disciplined.
it's good for you. You know it's
You,
good for
you
you.
know it's good for you. You know it's good for you, and you're disciplined, and you know it's also to prove to yourself that you can overcome any challenges.
Yeah, like some things are just hard. You know,
Yeah,
like there's no like reasonable reduction that you can make in a problem that makes it easy.
exactly, exactly.
Cold shower is one of them. You know, like,
Yeah, but
yeah,
and it's also there's a lesson in that also. Like some things in life, I think a lot of modern life is so comfortable, right? We drive around in cars and we have air conditioning, uh, like,
maybe your car.
uh, but you know, uh, we have beds and we have adequate clothing, and most people can afford food whenever they want to. A lot of people are obese, in fact, and like we're so used to we're so used to comfort in our lives. But the truth is, like, once something comes along, once the tiniest little pin comes along and pops that bubble of comfort, you're like, oh my God, what am I gonna
This is
do? This is the end, you know?
so
But really getting used to that idea of like
getting out of your comfort zone.
getting out of your comfort zone and doing something hard, not because you want to, but because you have to. Um,
Yeah. I
it,
mean, like yeah, once you realize that, you'll want to do it,
yeah,
right? Like,
yeah, and even in terms of mental health, a lot of places talking about mental health kind of advocate for this generic kind of like
go to a therapist, like,
or like look after yourself mentally,
be happy.
be happy, be comfortable, make sure you're okay. All of that is correct, but it's like physical health, you know. You can take all the supplements in the world, you can take all the vitamins in the world, you know. You can you can you can pad every surface in your house so that you don't bump into anything and bruise yourself. But you'll never be physically healthy unless you push your body and exercise.
Yeah, yeah, like,
Mentally, it's the same thing. You have to exercise your mind.
sure you will survive,
Yeah,
right? But you'll never be like you'll never have that durability, you know?
yeah. You'll never have that tenacity. You'll never have
Yeah,
that durability. Like
that's what.
if you can bubble wrap yourself and protect yourself from every possible thing that can stress you out, right? Like um, you you can go through your entire life, um,
Shielded.
not trying anything new, shielded, relying on your parents for everything, and you
Sounds familiar.
sounds familiar. Uh,
Yeah.
why is it coming out so fluently?
The mental health.
Mental health. Yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting how this just rolled right off the tongue. Yeah. But at the end of the day, true health comes from hard work and practice.
yeah, like without having fallen, you'll never learn to get up.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. Well,
Like
that's the
I know.
mental health.
That's how I'm qualified.
And that's why I'm here to sell you my $200 course on how you can become mentally healthy.
Yeah.
No, but
No, but like that's like a for me at least, it's very hard to learn because like who likes failure, right?
yeah,
No one likes like things not going their way, but sometimes it's what it takes for you to realize, what led to the failure. Like
yeah, exactly.
sometimes things have to go wrong for you to realize, oh, this is what I can like not do, or this is what can happen, even if I did all that I can, and you
Yeah,
learn from that experience.
yeah,
Because we can talk about it, right? We can speak about it,
yeah.
but until you purchase that $4,000 car, and then like everything just like yeah, and then you realize why you shouldn't, you
Well,
know,
you gotta give more context on the $4,000 car.
yeah. I mean, yeah, basically, I bought this like a very broken car because at some point I was like infatuated with like cars, fixing them up, etc. Right?
Yeah,
And then yeah, it's just turned out to be this complete disaster. And then the first day that I got it, I actually like felt like crying. I was like, oh my God, I've wasted $4,000 of my hard-earned money. I'll never recover from this,
yeah,
etc. etc. Right?
yeah,
But people pay a lot of money to learn the same lesson that I learned that day.
yeah,
Like just
yeah,
because you can buy it doesn't mean you should buy it. And like the more I guess the more impulsively you just accumulate something, you also accumulate all the risk that comes with it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like
Like there's always downsides to life,
yeah.
and there's always like lessons to be learned.
You,
And
you can't just accept that it's the end once thanks, Al.
thanks, Alice.
Can't just accept like that it's the end. I'll never make $4,000 again.
Yeah,
Like you should, yeah,
yeah.
move
It's like
move on.
yeah, like the kind of idea of like just everything's gonna be okay, just be happy, or let's not worry about things. it's very much a band-aid approach
Yeah,
to
yeah.
problems, you know.
It's a bubble wrap approach.
It's
That's like a good.
bubble wrap approach, and it's like a band-aid approach.
Yeah,
It's like, you know, hey, here you go, you'll be fine, you know. But that's just not true. Like,
you gotta air out the scar, man. Acknowledge that it's happened.
yeah. That's I love the way you put that. It's like you gotta air out the scar.
Yeah.
That's very much what it is. Like you gotta acknowledge that,
The-
you know, something
you,
happened.
yeah, the decision has gone wrong now. You
$4,000 have been transferred.
yeah, you have this liability.
I'm here. Yeah.
Thanks,
Thanks,
man.
Alice.
Yeah, like so it's tough to realize it, but then like going further, I'll never make that mistake again.
Yeah.
Buying a microphone, I'll wait as long as it takes to like you know
Get a
get something I want, get something that's like I've inspected it, I'm happy with it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Something you need.
something I need.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like yeah, just you gotta be grateful for the lesson that you could learn. You know,
Yeah.
rather than like
Yeah.
take everything as a major loss and like oh this is it.
Yeah.
I lost so much money. Like
Yeah.
it is what it is, man. Like
Yeah. I think a lot of people need to hear that. Yeah. Because it's so easy to have something bad happen,
just
and
freeze.
then just freeze or just kind of get lost in it and just kind of like get taken out of it and just go like, oh, you know, I guess that's that, you know. I guess, you know, it's even worse if you internalize it, right? You go like, I just make stupid decisions, or I'm just a loser,
Yeah.
or I'll
Why
always, yeah, or I'll always, you know, make bad purchasing decisions, or anything like that, right? But
fool me one time?
yeah, or even denial. So denial is also just as bad, right? It's like, oh, you know, I'll pretend the car's not there, or like, you know,
Yeah.
like, yeah, like,
Hit too close to home.
yeah, like, or you know,
Waste.
getting defensive about it. You know, if someone like asks you, "Hey, how's the car going?" Like, they can ask a perfectly innocent question, and you'd be like,
What's your problem?
"What's your problem? How's your car going?"
Matter of fact, has your van? Hey, grandma van. No.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. How's your face? Yeah. So, uh, yeah,
Just
yeah. I think we should. Oh, just yeah,
yeah, of course you shouldn't make all the mistakes, right? Like it's kind of stupid to go out there, get rid of all your money, and then be like, oh my God, that was so wrong.
yeah,
But look, it's okay to even do that. Like you'll never learn until it happens, all right, to a
yeah,
certain extent.
yeah,
So it's fine. It's fine. Just
yeah.
learn from your mistake.
Exactly. Like once it's happened. You know, you're there. You're already there. And I think okay, I think that's another thing that really helps with anxiety. It's like accepting the fact that if a bad outcome happens, you'll just be there. Like there's no time travel, there's no magic that fixes up the situation. Just like
Yeah.
knowing that you're already there and you just have to go from there is
It's like a very powerful realization to
yeah,
have. Like you don't even have to have it yourself. If you know someone that thinks like that, it's just a very powerful person to have in your life, you know?
yeah, exactly.
Like
Exactly.
i-
It's the person that you can watch their whole house burn down and you know
they'll be
they'll
all right.
they'll be alright.
Yeah.
They'll build their entire life back up again.
Because like the person like in the house burning down scenario, they probably have a checklist. Am I dead? Is someone that I know dead?
Yeah,
Am I dying right now? No, like what we're fine,
yeah,
Like even in the context of startups, right? I've started listening to a lot of podcasts related to startups. Like this is basically how I procrastinate, Like I believe
that's not procrastinating.
yeah, but like you want to believe it, right? Like when
Yeah,
I watch like chess tutorials, I'm like, oh my God, I'm learning.
yeah, yeah,
But just but yeah, anyway, besides the point. So there's this company that like got sued by I think it was Twitch or some like very big company got sued by like a big company at the time. I think it was Zephyr or something, right?
Yeah.
And then the whole thing was people in the HQ of the startup, they were like panicking. Like they saw this like notice, like, oh my God, this
We're getting sued.
yeah, we're getting sued, like company's over, you know? And then the one thing the CEO said was like the third engineer that they hired, they'll never forget because this guy was like, okay, guys, let's take a step back. Thanks
Thanks
for
for
this.
this.
Like, have any of the customers left? No. Have any of the customers expressed their intention of leaving? No, right? So they're like realistically, what is the problem? Just pay the 750 grand, move on with the company. Just don't make the mistake again. That's like a very powerful dude to have in your corner.
Yeah.
Like you need, or like if you become that person,
Yeah.
you never need someone else to be like, look, have you sold the shirt on your back?
Yeah. Are you on the street homeless with a bowl?
No, like I heard in the podcast, like the dude genuinely answered this question, like, "Are your wife and children begging?" Like, dude, you're fine. It's just an
Yeah.
email.
Yeah.
Pay the sum. And, like, very
Yeah.
powerful idea.
It is. Yeah. I think we've come up with 3 ways to deal with anxiety now.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like the letting
The check,
control,
yeah, the continuum, and
the
then
continuum, the imagining a
worst
bad
case.
worst case, having like a checklist.
Yeah, having
So
like the worst case too.
the checklist is like even if a bad outcome happens, even out of the blue, right?
Yeah,
Whether it's a bad outcome you anticipated or whether it's a bad outcome out of the blue, like having a concrete
basic,
checklist,
like a basic need checklist.
basic basic crap you care about the most checklist.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, okay, is my dog alive? Check. Is my are my loved ones alive? Check. Yeah. Like, am
still
I?
have a home,
Am
water
I? Yeah.
supply. Like,
Do I still have water? Check. Do I still have electricity? Check. And even if things are missing from your checklist, it's just like,
as long as you have a couple items, nothing can really get to you.
yeah,
Like, yeah,
yeah, and yeah, and I mean, even if you lose the entire checklist, it's like the fact that you're there to do the checklist is like, am I alive? Check. That box will always be checked, right?
yeah,
So, um, you know, if I'm alive, I can fight. And in this context, like fight is like fight against life, right?
yeah, yeah.
If I'm alive, I'm still I'm still in the ring. It's like that, Randy moment from South Park. I didn't hear no bell. I didn't hear no bell. Like it's like you're still in the game. So just um, just keep playing. Yeah,
Yeah,
just keep going, and
yeah.
you'll figure it out. Yeah,
So with those ideas, I hope you like feel a bit more empowered now.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I am alive. I am at my desk right now in front of a computer.
You know, like what do I have going on in my life?
Yeah.
I feel like it's so easy to lose track of
What's important,
what's important.
especially what's important to you,
Mm,
because a lot of uh, since joining USIP,
yeah,
they make a lot of things seem like they should be very important to you, but like
yeah,
in the end, you shouldn't forget why you're there, why you're anywhere,
yeah,
to do
yeah.
things that matter to you.
Not just used to, just I think life in general, like your parents.
Yeah, yeah.
It happens a lot with parents, right? Like how many countless people I know, countless friends I know, just like puppets of what their parents want. Like parents
Honestly,
are
there's
like,
like
you should study medicine. Medicine? Oh, medicine? Medicine? And then it's like, and then they're like, like they chase down that little goal, even though it's got nothing to do with them, in a sense, right? And it's like, uh, look, if you decide you want to do it, like there's nothing wrong with that. That's like your life choice, whatever, right? But the thing is, you have to you have to keep track of what it is you actually find important in life and what it is that um, empowering, I think,
yeah,
to you, and also keep track of what you have and like rather than just things you suppose uh or keep track of what you have as opposed to things that are going wrong or things that you kind of fantasize about having.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if I had that car, or wouldn't it be nice if I had this like party, or wouldn't it be nice if I would
Yeah, all these things just worked out for me.
yeah, all these things just worked out for me. But it's not
I'm
at
not
the end
saying
of
don't think about that, but like
at
don't
the
include that in your checklist.
yeah, at the end of the day, exactly. Don't include that in your checklist. And at the end of the day, a fantasy is just a fantasy, right? Like a fantasy is a fantasy because it's not A, because it hasn't happened yet, and B, because you don't know.
You haven't put anything towards it.
Yeah, like you haven't, like, even if it happens, how do you know you'll actually be happy? That's coming back to what we were saying before, right?
Yeah,
Because I know, at least for me, like you put all this, like you build up all this perfect scenario and this perfect outcome. Sometimes when it actually happens, you're just like, oh, I guess that was that, or like, oh, that was kind of nice. And then, well, guess what happens? You just kind of move on.
yeah,
And it's often the unexpected things and unexpected outcomes in life that end up being um, much more meaningful and rewarding and so on. Yeah,
yeah. Cool. I think that's an excellent note to end the podcast on.
yeah,
Pretty like he even faded out the voice towards the end. I like that.
yeah,
But yeah, thanks so much for listening, guys. If you made it to this point, good job.
yeah,
Also, we'd like to know if you have some questions, right? Like,
yeah. So if you have any questions you'd like the interviewee to be asked,
or like interviewee suggestion.
yeah,
Yeah, just anything to do with the show. If you'd like to come on the show,
sure,
we'd like
send us a
to.
message.
Yeah, yeah,
I'll drop a comment. Yeah.
yeah. Drop a comment, etc. You just
If you found this podcast like meaningful, if you could like or subscribe or whatever,
share it with your
share it
friends.
with your friends.
You can even like give them the timestamps.
Yeah.
Maybe like from here to here, they talked about this dude's car being upside.
Yeah, like if you want to cut it up into shorts and share it on your Instagram or TikTok or whatever,
Yeah,
feel free to.
feel
Yeah.
free to. Yeah,
Um, yeah, yeah. Thanks for listening, guys.
catch
See
you
you
guys
next
in
time.
the